Hi, welcome back to 5 is Prime. In today's video, we will be talking about how to subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So to start us off, I've got a couple vocab words that we'll need to know. So these two vocab words are numerator and denominator. So these words are important to know because a rule of fractions and subtracting fractions is that fractions must have the same denominator before they can be subtracted. So it doesn't matter if the numerator matches or not. The denominator must be the same. So that's what we're going to be working on today, is finding a common denominator and then subtracting. So I've got one example here. So I have a model here to kind of show why this doesn't work, why we can't just subtract across. If I have 3/4 and I want to take away 1/6, I come over here and how do I split this up into sixths when I already have fourths so that I can actually take away a sixth? It just doesn't work. So to solve this, we are going to find a common denominator. I have a full video on how to do this, so if you need a little bit more instruction on how to do that part, go ahead and look for that video and I walk you through it. So in this case, our least common denominator is going to be 12. So I like to put it in a bubble right above my numbers. And we're going to have to figure out what we need to multiply our 3/4 by to get 12 and our 1/6 by to get 12. So I like to have my students write their multiplier right next to the arrow, and then we have to ask ourselves, 4 times what is going to give us 12? It's going to be 4 times 3 is going to give us 12. And for my other fraction, I'm going to ask myself 6 times what equals 12, and it's going to be 6 times 2. So now that I've got my multipliers, I just need to actually multiply. So I'm going to do that now. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2, and 6 times 2 is 12. All right, now that I have common denominators, I can subtract. So 9 minus 2 is 7, and I'm just going to keep my 12s on there. 9/12 minus 2/12 is 7/12. Now really quickly, let's zoom in over here and let's add on our extra lines to make this into 12s. And then I'm going to show you what that actually looks like on a model. So I'm splitting this, really I'm multiplying it by 3. Like I did before. That one's a little bit off, but that's okay. So now if we count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 12 pieces. I am taking away, I've got 12 total and I have 9 highlighted. I'm going to take away 2 of these. And I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/12, just like my answer there. So there is one with a model. These other ones don't have models, but let's still practice them. So I have the denominators 5 and 10. So I need to skip count to figure out what my denominator is going to be. I have 5, 10, 15, and 10 and 20. Right off the bat, I see a 10 and a 10. So that is my first common multiple, so that's going to be my least common denominator. So we've actually kind of lucked out here because our 10 is already a 10. So with our 7 tenths, I don't really need to do anything to it. I'm going to multiply by 1. And whenever you multiply something by 1, it's not going to change the value of that number, and that works with fractions too. So I'm just going to multiply that side by 1, and this side, 5 times something equals 10, and that something is 2. So 5 times 2 equals 10. All right, now I can multiply my 4/5 to find an equivalent fraction that will work for our problem so we can actually subtract. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 5 times 2 is 10. I now have matching denominators. I am going to subtract. So 8/10 minus 7/10, I will have 1/10 left over. All right. There's one more. We've got 5/8 minus 1/3. If you want to try this one on your own, go ahead and hit pause now, do the work, and then come back and see if you got the right answer. So let's figure out what our common denominator is going to be. We've got 8, 16, 24, and we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. I'm just listing all of the multiples of 3, like it's as if I was going to skip count them. Okay, now looking at my list, I see 24, and I've got 15. It's pretty close to 16, but not quite. So 24 and 24, that's going to be my least common denominator. All right, now that I know what my least common denominator is, I need to find equivalent fractions. So I'm going to multiply and multiply. 8 times what equals 24. And if you're not sure, you could always look over at your multiples. So 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3. So 8 times 3. And then our next one, if we know that 8 times 3 equals 24, 3 times 8 is going to equal 24. All right, there we go. Now I need to find my equivalent fractions, so that's when I'm multiplying my fraction by my multiplier. I multiply the numerator and the denominator. A lot of times I see students only multiply the denominator and then they are changing the fraction. So if you multiply the numerator and the denominator, you will be a-okay. So 8 times 3 is 24 and 5 times 3 is 15. And over on our next one, I've got 1 times 8 and 3 times 8. All right. Now we can actually do our subtraction. So 15 24ths minus 8 24ths is going to leave us with 7 24ths. All right, and that is my final answer. I hope that this video has been helpful to you and you kind of understand the steps to subtracting fractions. I will see you in the next one.